Next is buffer stock. This is also very important topic. Actually, from agriculture, all are important. Prelims also you get question, mains also you get question. I think last year there was a question from buffer stock. Buffer stock or PDS, there was a question last year prelims also. Yeah, economic cost related to that. There was a question that I'll discuss today. Right. Buffer stock are just write one line there. Buffer stocks are maintained since the fourth 5-year plan. Buffer stocks are maintained since fourth 5-year plan. That is 1969. Actually, there was after the third 5-year plan, there was 3-year gaps. Okay, so 66, 67, 68, there was a gap, and then 69 when the fourth 5-year plan resumed, buffer stock maintained. From there onwards, buffer stock started maintaining. Now, it is maintained by whom? FCI. It is maintained by FCI under which ministry? Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. Just right? It is maintained by FCI, Food Corporation of India, under Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. Objectives. What are the main objectives? First one, food security. Obviously, there's the most important one, food security. Second one, price stabilization. Price stabilization. Okay, so if you have buffer stock, in case if the price is going up, why the price is going up? Demand is there, supply will be less. So if you have buffer stock, you can pump the supply, right? So that you can manage the price like that. Okay, so price stabilization is one thing, another objective. So food security and price stabilization, these are the two main objectives. And the third objective is also very important, to operationalize PDS, public distribution system, to operationalize PDS and other welfare schemes like food security act, etc. Okay, so to operationalize PDS. So main objective, food security, price stabilization, operationalize PDS and other welfare schemes. Now mainly in terms of wheat and rice. Okay, so it is maintained in wheat and rice, and the quantity vary from 21 to 41 metric ton. Okay, so there are some buffer stock norms also. Nobody will ask you this in an exam, but just for your knowledge I'll tell you. By 1st of Jan, it has to be 21.41 metric ton. Okay, 1st of April, it has to be 20.04 metric ton. 1st of July, it has to be 41.12 MT. 1st of October, it has to be 30.77 MT. Okay, so it is actually varying, depends on two factors. One important factor is related to production, harvest. Second, based on requirement. Okay, now you know wheat is a rabi crop, rice is a kharif crop, so it depends on season also, the quantity will vary. This 21.41, in this there will be contribution from rice and wheat, right? This will vary, depends on the season. Okay, rice is a kharif crop and wheat is a rabi crop, so it depends on the season, you will see variation, and depends on harvest, depends on production also, you will see variation. That is not important. Okay, so it will vary from 21 to 41. That is something which you can keep in mind, and it will vary on the basis of what? Firstly, on the basis of production, secondly on the basis of season also. Okay, now who fixes this buffer stock norms? Buffer stocks norms are fixed by CCEA, Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. Before also we have discussed, when we discussed about PD, we have discussed about MSP, right? So buffer stock norms are fixed by Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. It is usually revised every 5 years. Usually revised every 5 years. It was last revised 2015 Jan. Okay, so You will see the revision soon, and you need to update that in case if there is a revision. Okay. So now when we discussed about price stabilization fund, I have also talked about pulses, right? So government also created buffer stock of pulses. If you remember last day I have discussed this towards the end, price stabilization fund. Under that, a buffer stock of pulses also maintained, but only 2 metric ton under price stabilization scheme. Okay. So I've told you before, it was onion and potato, and it depends on volatility. So a buffer stock of pulses also maintained under price stabilization scheme of 2 metric ton. Okay, now the current ratio, see, almost 1/3 of the wheat and rice is actually procured by FCI only. So almost 1/3 is actually, that means 33.3% or 34% is actually procured by FCI. And what is the ratio? The current ratio I'll give you, 45% is wheat and 55% is rice. So just note down this ratio also, 55% rice and 45% of wheat. So that's about buffer stock. We will see some issues with respect to buffer stock. Again, mains question, buffer stock is also very important for your mains. Directly there in your syllabus, so you should know this. First and most important one, excessive stocking. Excessive stocking. Actually more than 2 times the norms, excessive stocking. That is a most important problem. Second one, limited storage facility. So the problem is with the storage, limited storage facility. So excessive stocking and limited storage facility, combining these two, what will happen? Combining these two, there will be wastage, huge wastage. Fourth point, you can write mishandling and corruption. Mishandling and corruption. See, actually, for liquor production, this is used. Rotten grains is actually used, right? So it is purposely allowed the grain to get rotten, so that you can use it for alcohol consumption, alcohol making, liquor production, and that will be more profitable. And so mishandling, so it is intentional or unintentional. This means mishandling, it is actually intentional. This wastage is intentional or unintentional? It is intentional only. Okay, because that once it is rotten, it can be used for liquor production. So even the wastage is also due to the corruption only. Okay, it is not that by taking money giving it to someone, it is allowing it to get wasted also as part of corruption. Okay, now one more point you can write. The relevance of holding excessive stock has reduced. The relevance of holding excessive stock has reduced because of significant forex reserve. Can anyone explain this point? The relevance of holding excessive stock has reduced because of significant forex reserve. Can you explain this point? Now what I'm saying is, nowadays there is no relevance of holding too much of food grain, excessive food grain, because we have enough forex. See, before
in case of import, we can import it if in case of any scarcity to maintain the food security.
Yeah, we can actually import it. Before we faced a lot of problem.
Yeah.
We faced a food scarcity. At that time we didn't even had to pay 3 weeks of import bill. So we were facing acute problem with the forex side also, and we didn't have enough forex reserve. At the same time, food shortage also. Now there is no food shortage, there is no forex related problem. In case if you face any shortage, still you can import because you have huge forex. It is crossing 500 billion, right? So more than that forex is there, so no problem. Next point, trade policy is better and cost effective. One more point under that, trade policy is better and cost effective. Cost effective price stabilization measure. Trade policy is better and cost effective price stabilization measure than stocking. See, most importantly, I want to talk here about the trade policy, better trade policy. Before, since your custom duty and all is high, there was not better trade policy. You had problems in importing, but now even the trade policy is also better. So you can import in case if there is any shortage. There is not much problem that you're going to face in case of shortage. So there is no point in keeping huge. Obviously, you have to maintain buffer stock, but no need to keep huge buffer stock. It will obviously go as wastage. So you have better forex, you have better trade policy, so you have to utilize that. So that is one of the issue. In fact, you can write it as a solution also. Now, one committee recommendation is there. Again, the same committee that we have discussed before, Shanda Kumar committee recommendation. Just write Shanda Kumar committee recommendation on stocking and movement of grains. On stocking and movement of grains. The first point, the FCI should outsource its stocking operation. The FCI should outsource its stocking operation to center and state warehousing corporations. FCI should outsource its stocking operation to center and state warehousing corporation and private warehouses. So FCI should outsource this to center and state warehousing corporation and also to private warehouses. Second, covered and plinth, CAP, covered and plinth. So covered and plinth storage, covered and plinth storage should be phased out, and no grain should remain under CAP, covered and plinth, for over 3 months. What do you mean by this, covered and plinth? Like covering with plastics. It's a temporary makeshift arrangement. Like you bring the grain and just cover it with plastic that you tie with 4 ropes in the 4 sides, and that's it. And it will be there and it will get rotten after some point of time. So here the recommendation is, under CAP arrangement, no grain should be there more than 3 months. Third one, silo bag. Silo bag should replace the conventional storage. Conventional storage means mainly CAP, right? Covered and plinth. So silo bag means proper metallic storage, proper containers, so that it will not get rotten, it will not go wastage. So silo bag, okay. Silo bag should replace the CAP arrangement. Next one, storage and movement of grains should be automated and containerized. Storage and movement of grain should be automated and containerized. Storage and movement of grain should be automated and containerized. Okay, like use of the computers, ICT, information communication technology, all those things. Next point, storage sacks should have ears for holding. That means what? If you can, otherwise what will happen when the sacks, when it is loaded, during loading as well as unloading, what the people who's unloading, what they do, they just take a hook and they will just pluck it in the sack and then they'll just drag it, right? So what will happen? All these grains will get wasted. There will be a hole in the sack and that will get wasted. So instead, if you have ears to hold the sacks, then this wastage will not be there. You will properly hold it, and then there is no need to put a hole or using a hook or anything is not required. So that is what storage sack should have ears for holding. Then next point, the FCI should dispose of the excess stocks. Excess stocks means, in bracket you can write, over buffer stock norms. in bracket over buffer stock norms through open market sales schemes, or export. That means if you see, just now I've told you there are 5 times the buffer stock norm is there. This is huge stocking and this is going as wastage. So over and above what you have, more than the buffer stock norm, you have to sell it either through open market sales schemes or you have to export it. So that is normal recommendation only. You don't want to write it as Shantikumar recommendation. In case if you get a question, you can write it normal recommendations from your side. That's about buffer stock.